Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here, and today I am pretty excited. I'm going to be reviewing the Reiff Knives F6 Leuko. Super excited. This has definitely been a pretty neat knife to test out, so let's get started on it. Alright, so I'm going to just go over some basic specs with the Reiff Knives F6 Leuko. You could either get it in a Kydex or leather sheath. Now I'm pretty sure the leather version is the JRE Industries leather sheath, which I think is a really nice leather sheath. I went with the Kydex just because I really like Kydex overall. And they come with this kind of swivel belt clip here, which is pretty neat in some ways. I kind of can see some issues with that, but we'll continue. So looking at the blade, it's overall 11¼ inch long. It's a 6-inch blade length. It's CPM 3V steel, which I have not had many knives made of this steel, but this is really the first one that I've got a lot of use with, that I enjoy using a lot. And so I'm starting to like the CPM 3V in a lot of ways. It's a classic drop point style. It's a saber grind, obviously, with a convex edge, which this edge is stupid sharp. It's pretty nice. The handle length is 5¼ and it has G10 grips on it, which I like. This is probably one of the more ergonomic knives I've held in a while. So let's get checking out this blade. Alright, with the Reiff knives, I'm going to do a little bit more batoning. I've already split this piece in half, but this piece has a lot of knots and stuff, so we'll do a little bit more batoning here. I think about quarter is about the most I'm going to be able to break that down, but I got another piece here. With that saber grind, it does baton pretty well. Saber grind is probably overall one of my favorite knife grinds on a knife. It's a good, solid, high saber grind. There, it's popping some pretty seasoned cedar in half. Alright, so I'm not going to do like a large fire. It's pretty hot and humid out here. But I am going to test a 90-degree spine on this knife. I don't think it's the sharpest 90-degree spine in the world, but it is there, so we're going to test it. Alright, so here I just wanted to show the F6 Leuko from Reiff Knives and kind of a size comparison to other more well-known knives. So here I have the SE6 right next to it. Lengthwise, they're almost identical. I mean, SE might have just a little bit longer blade. Not necessarily blade length itself, but with the choil and such. But minus the choil, and the blades are almost the same size. So SE6 is just a little, I don't know, maybe a ½ inch longer than the F6, but that's mainly just because of the choil there. And I got the Cold Steel SRK. That's a pretty popular one. And it's, I don't know, maybe a ¼ inch to a ½ inch shorter overall length. Blade lengths are almost about the same, but so that's just a kind of quick little size comparison. Alright, so I'm going to just do a kind of a little bit of a chopping test with this F6 from Reiff Knives. I got a little sapling here that's probably about an inch, inch and a half in diameter. I'm going to just see if I can fell this tree with this knife. Thing actually has decent power to it. I'm actually pretty impressed. I think it's just that broad, beefy blade. Alright, so another test I'm going to try with the Reiff F6 here is I'm going to delimb the little sapling that I just cut down with it so I could use it for other tasks. The thing, it has 6-inch blade roughly, but because the blade is so broad and has a really beefy saber grind, it surprisingly, I would definitely consider this like a true survival knife. It definitely can do a lot of different tasks, including some light chopping. And I think I'm going to cut the very end off there because it gets so thin that. And now I have a pretty straight pole. Alright, so with the Reiff Knives F6, I'm pretty sure you can request for both Kydex and or leather. I requested Kydex, and overall I am actually very impressed with the Kydex. That, you know, it's very tight in there. It's not going to just come out. I like that it's a taco shape. You know, I used to kind of like the pancakes, but overall I kind of gotten where I like the taco. It just seems more like a more natural knife sheath. Now, as far as the belt attachment, this thing is actually pretty cool. It's a clip that can rotate, and that's pretty handy. I don't know if I 100% like this. There's things I really like about the clip, and there's things I don't like about it. I've had some bad experiences with clips on knives in general. It's why I've kind of gotten where I like a belt loop. But I'll show this on person. So what's nice about this clip is it actually does go on my pants relatively easy. I don't have to like take my belt off or anything. And like I said, it can rotate. So like I can kind of carry it like that, or you know, it's very nice in that regard. I do think it makes the knife sit up just a little high. I might try to make one of my belt loops and put on this sheath and just see how that works. But out of the box, at least with the Kydex sheath, that's kind of what you're getting. Overall, I think it's a win though for this knife. Alright, so as I was mentioning the clip, one thing that's always concerned me about any knife sheath with a clip on it like this, especially a plastic clip, is while I like them in some ways because of the ease of using them and putting them on and stuff, just from my use being in the military and doing a lot of like more woods type of stuff, I've legit have had something like a branch or even getting in and out of a truck or Humvee catch and just flip the knife and break the clip. See what I can do to do some stick making. For a 6-inch knife, this thing actually feels pretty heavy duty. Let's see how that CPM 3V holds up. And I put a decent little point on that. I'm not going to make it super sharp just because it's going straight into the dirt. The F6 can be a decent little chopper if need be. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and make a notch because I got to try to reinforce my shelter here a little bit. So I'm going to try making a little tent stake notch here. It's a pretty big piece of wood too. Now something to take note on with this knife is the handles are actually surprisingly comfortable. I will have to say I think they're pretty close to on par with an LT Wright handle. It just has a lot of like shape and ergonomics to these handles. So thus far I'm pretty impressed with this Reiff or Reiff. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Reiff Knives F6. But we got us a notch. Alright, so another test I'm going to test out with the F6 from Reiff Knives is I'm going to do a stab / prying test. This is the one that makes everybody cringe, but this knife I've seen people hack into car doors and stuff with. So I have no doubt that this beefy hunk of CPM 3V is going to do pretty good. Stabs in pretty amazing. Let's do some prying here. And that's probably part of the reason why they used a mid saber grind, just to really reinforce that whole knife and give it just a lot of strength. This makes me cringe because, like I said, this is almost a $400 knife, but for that price point, it should be able to do just about anything. I would probably say this is probably one of the most durable knives you can get your hands on. And even though it's not like the most pointy tip on it, I'm actually really surprised that this thing stabs really good in that guard, even though it's kind of it's not like a super extended guard, but my hand's not going forward, so this thing can stab pretty well. Alright, so another test I'm going to do is, this is, you know, kind of mostly sold as a survival knife, which I agree. I think this is probably the pinnacle of survival knives. But to me, a survival knife should not only just be a tool, but it should be also a potential weapon as well. And so I'm going to kind of do some just real basic knife fighting techniques and just kind of see how this thing fits in hand. I think this thing's going to do great, but we'll just kind of get a feel for it. So stays in hand when I'm slashing. Doesn't want to slip out or anything like that. The angle, the handle ergonomics allows me to get good edge alignment. So there's no guessing or no rotation. So that's good. Let's do some stabs. Does pretty good on a reverse thrust. But overall, this thing stays in hand pretty good. Well, my friends, I've been testing out the Reiff Knives F6, and overall, I am super impressed with this knife. I'm definitely gonna say this is probably one of my top favorite knives now. Like, this thing just feels amazing in hand. I mean, I could just hold this knife all day long. I constantly want to play with it. All that being said, you know, this is a pretty top tier knife. Just a couple little issues, and nothing major, but I feel like the 90-degree spine could be just a little sharper, and I'd like to see a different belt attachment. However, that's kind of a personal choice, so I might change that out. But other than that, everything else is perfect with this knife. This is definitely badass knife of badassitude, in my opinion. So with all that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless, and carry on.